There we are.
Yeah, oh yeah, we are here on the air, in your hair, and in living color, and 100% human.
And thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Don't forget to say you like us. Tell your
Even
friends
if you don't.
near and far.
Yeah.
And okay, are you going to do the Karnak thing?
No.
Okay. So you're not going to tell me what's going to happen a week from now?
Well, I think a week from now we will be back to where we are today. We'll have a government that's being totally ineffective. They will maybe bow and acquiesce to 1,001 things and come back and tell us that it was all done in our best interests. And
We were just fooling?
yeah, well, that too. That too.
I'm concerned that that's exactly what's going to happen. What we should have done in pre-production was find out what Polymarket said the result would be. But basically, it's either we get sold out, and that's going to been that would be sold as the plan all along. We just
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We tried and we've assessed this and it took us 18, 19 months to figure it out, but
and we had the best deal anyway.
well, yeah.
Don't forget, we always
Even
get told
though
that.
our old relationship was gone and will never return. Yeah.
And so
And
we had the best
I
deal.
think, well, it's true. And maybe it is. But we sure put people through an awful lot of gnashing of teeth and wailing to get to where we're going to be just sold out anyway. So
If the sellout comes with people being tossed under the bus, because you can't have it both ways.
You have to. There's going to be people tossed under the bus. I think your premier and my premier are probably going to be the first to go.
Yeah, but then we'll go quietly. I mean,
well, they'll
this looks
find out
like
just
this
how
is going to
effective
happen.
they are. And really, I mean, they're not effective. They can do and say all they want, but the reality is that what's your favorite saying? The square root of a shrew's fart.
Yeah.
That's about as much power as they have here. We've already got a province that went from an $800 million surplus to a $13 billion deficit in 3 years. It tells you how effective they are.
Yeah, but how do you solve the problem if you're a Ford or an EB of your own principles and your own
Well,
position as a premier? Because the business of what goes on the shelves is the province's purview, which is fine,
true.
except that that's not going to be seen by the boogeyman in the White House as an excuse any more
True.
than supply management and dairy is going to be an excuse.
Well, and again, you hit the nail on the head, right, with principles. One, they don't have any.
Well, that's a
You
given.
know, by very definition, we talked about that several episodes back. Nobody has any faith or trust or belief in the politics anymore. Like we said, you slowly put on weight over the course of 10 years, but there's no magical Ozempic drug that's going to take that away overnight. To get the politicians back to some kind of respectable standing, it's going to take decades.
Well, yeah.
We
Okay,
need
okay.
we need a few of the old time people. Now, maybe President Kennedy was a bit of a philanderer. He had his issues, he had his problems, but he seemed to be, at least from what I remember, he seemed to be concerned about the country and wanting to make it good, and was willing to work with partisans across the floor. I think we had that with the Diefenbakers and the Pearsons.
Well, they still had bits of what was known as patriotism.
Yeah.
I mean, there were
Patriotism
two
now
flavors of
means,
it, but you had the Diefenbaker flavor and you had the Pearson flavor, but they were still compared today. They actually had Canada as their love of country existed with those people, even
well,
if you were on either side of the aisle. The bunch we've had, I'm sorry to say, over the last 40 years have dwindled. That's a dirty word in this country.
it
Okay.
is, and patriotism is often confused and colored by the money that's going into the bank accounts, whether it's oranges or blues or greens. It's that's really what's driving these people.
Yeah.
We currently have our prime minister incommunicado, even though this is probably, to use one of his favorite sayings, that one of the most existential big crises of since the Second World War, and yet he's having
Perrier water over in Italy.
or discussions that we're not we're private discussions about who knows. Are we not supposed to care? I don't know. And his supposed company that he moved to the United States is miraculously there at the same time.
It's a coincidence,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but he cleared it with the ethics commissioner. So, but you're not supposed to know
Supposedly.
what he cleared.
Well, yeah.
He's not a full-time prime minister. I think he's a part-time prime minister. He's a full-time Brookfield guy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I guess it gets somebody. Was it Margaret Thatcher's? I got anyway. Somebody had said, if the government is giving up way too much of your money in overseas payments, maybe you're paying too much in taxes.
Could
And
be.
I'm sorry for what's going on in the Ukraine, but I'm getting to the point where I'm sorry, but when we have $25 billion, which is almost a third of our debt,
Yes.
going to a country without any vote in parliament, without any discussions, maybe we are being taxed too much.
Well, it's clear that there's a lot of dysfunctionality going on, but patriotism is not one of the strong suits of this particular regime,
Oh gosh,
and it
no,
hasn't been a strong suit of any of them, frankly,
no.
since the late 60s. I'm sorry, I just have that's gone, and the conservatives bear a lot of that on their shoulders as well. So
Oh, absolutely.
because
With
constantly worrying about what somebody else is doing halfway around the world and not worrying about what's going on in your own backyard.
well, we had that with, and again, it goes back to Trudeau one. Uh, he was revered around the country, around the world, because of all the things that he gave them. Loans that were supposedly for building a rice factory that was there to build a Marxist statue in the downtown square. Uh, Loved him because they knew we were going to get money from him.
Yep.
Hated in Canada, um, but well, I shouldn't say hated. In most places in Canada, he wasn't welcome. Um, and it's the same
Places in
thing where we
Quebec.
have now. You, if I was one of those workers in the photo op and I had to shake this guy's hand as part of the photo op, I'd be looking to make sure I still had 10 fingers or 8 fingers and 2 thumbs. And then the next thing I would do, I'd be running off and using the facilities to wash my hands because I don't want to be tainted with this stuff.
Well, tainted is a good segue into the recent revelation that one of our MPs is suddenly not going to be an MP because of a injury in a car accident that no one can find a record of, and he's too stressed to travel between his riding in Toronto and Ottawa every week, but apparently not that stressed that he's not sitting around lots of times in various parts of China,
Mm-hmm.
yucking it up with the Chinese Communist Party leadership. So, and you told me that one of the votes in Parliament he actually did by proxy from Beijing.
Allegedly, not I can't prove it, but
Look,
I wouldn't surprise
I
me.
smell something here that
Well, yeah, and
something
coupled with
something's
that,
not right. This
trying.
this is not a coincidence. They have this creature in Belgium at NATO who's Canadian supposedly that was arrested and is behind bars at the moment for spying for a foreign government. Gee, I wonder what foreign government we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this guy, either he knows that the cordite is starting to burn and he better get out while the getting's good. This guy, I guarantee you, is going to be back in China, toot sweet.
Well,
Uh,
that, and it's also interesting, as you say, coincidentally, that the leader of the country is incommunicado and can't be reached to speak it, other than to say that we, right from the beginning, we knew that this individual that's currently in jail for the alleged spying. Uh, we knew, right, we've been there from the beginning,
yeah, sure.
which tells me, okay, so you don't have a very good security vetting system here in Canada.
Well, maybe they were there right from the beginning. Listen, what does,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
the light is coming on.
Mhm. So, if the geniuses who observe these things from on high don't think that this has a bad smell to it, they are sadly mistaken. And I think it's going to color the discussions that take place a week from now over this trade schism between Canada and the U.S. As we said at the beginning, it's either going to be a whole bunch of people tossed under the bus for a deal, a whole bunch of people in Canada tossed under the bus for a deal with Washington, which they could have done 18 months ago and could have, the throwing under the bus could have been done a lot. What I don't understand, Bob, is we're giving literally billions of dollars to various industries in Canada as a result of the trade issue. The auto workers are being subsidized, the dairy industry is being subsidized, the steel industry is being subsidized, the aluminum, billions. Why didn't you just make the deal with the Americans 18 months ago and instead of pissing away billions in subsidies, invested in improving the ability of Canada to export stuff to those other markets? No, we went through 18 months of bullshit here and pissed away money from to Africa to Asia to South America. I mean, why in the hell were we giving money to Brazil? I mean, give me a break, you
Who
know?
has is just as many trees, if not more, that we do, and has a population that's, I don't know, it's probably bigger than ours,
Well, it's a,
and has a GDP, GNP that rivals ours anyway.
yes, like this is crazy talk. But so, and if a week from now the reverse is true, as in we're not going to have any deal, then we're going to go from bad to worse. You know, if you're going to stand on principle, for all the elbows up clowns that have bought into this nonsense about we can outsmart the Americans, outbuy the Americans, you know, yeah, sure, okay, you're going to take on an economy that's 12 times your size. Everybody uses 10. That's actually not the correct figure. It's 12 times, okay? And
Well,
you
10
think
works
you're going to
out
get
better for
away with it?
metrics.
It's nonsense. Anyway, my money is on it's a sellout because that's what it was all along. Mr.
Well,
Brookfield knew full well that it was damn good business to make sure there's continually good business with the outfit that you do 80% of your trade with. You're not going to toss that in the trash, okay? This guy hedged his bets, as are a lot of other people, which of course has some dark clouds over it because you've got people with serious dough who are shorting the Canadian dollar already because they think that this deal. And again, we don't know because a week from now we'll have our discussion and we can either say, well, yes, Karnak, right? Either either we were right or we were dead wrong. And, because we're just two guys talking over the 5,000-mile fence here. But
that's true. Yeah, and yeah, one of the other internet pundits uh, had basically said that his confidential sources that are very reliable define reliable, I don't know, that we've already had a deal signed, and it's been a deal for 2 weeks. And then we had the chief negotiator walking through the streets of Washington, D.C. yesterday saying, we'll tell you when we tell you.
Well, look, our chief negotiators are junior league players compared to the people they're up against. So,
Right.
you know, if it's true that a deal's already been made, then okay, fine. And whether he wants to tell us now that we sold out or tell us a week from now that we sold out. And look, we've had this discussion for literally 2 years, long before, you know, the carnage showed up. That, you know, you can't go around kicking the gorilla in the groin all the time and expecting, you know, to have, you know, hugs and kisses. So you do this, you're going to pay for it. And so if it turns out that all this was for no other reason than political theater, then you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be in the elbows up crowd really, really pissed.
Well, and then again, too, the guy that's now in charge of the housing agency here that is doing so wonderfully well that even they're predicting that they're going to have a 27% decrease in getting houses built this year, are now starting to look at the housing income availability here, which is going to affect the boomers, right?
Oh, yeah.
You bought your first house for $50,000 and it's now worth $1.5 million out here in particular.
Yep.
That becomes a very suspicious, to me, capital gains that you're sitting on, you know.
Oh, yeah.
All that untapped wealth that's sitting in your RRSPs and your TFSAs, and you know, there's an awful lot of things that these liberal boomers are going to get hit with because we're running out of money.
Yeah, well, they're going to
We're going to get this.
Listen, the mob will turn on this crowd on a dime. I guarantee you that if they try to pull this stunt off, you know, and giving the old boomers $9 on their OAS or whatever a year increase or a monthly increase, a grand total of $100 a year. They can. I'm not going to say what you can wipe with that, because that is a joke in a given situation as it is. And you know what's I find particularly galling is that the same media that is continually fawning over this character that has got all his dough in New York at Brookfield didn't seem to get too concerned about the $9 a month that you know, the retired people got. Yet we're busily sending literally billions overseas to you name the country from A to Z that's getting something from us.
Well,
and we get nothing in return.
or
you know,
the other side
it's
of
not
that
even
coin
unrequited love.
and the other side of that coin is the miraculous reappearance of the gold-plated refugee dental medical healthcare plans.
Don't get me going. But that shows just how dysfunctional the whole media is.
Well, and it's
because
not just
they're bought
dysfunctional.
off. You know, this is nonsense. We can talk about this here on our Mickey Mouse little podcast, but you know, where the hell is where are the Lloyd Robertsons, sadly, who passed away last week? Where are those people who used to bring this stuff out and embarrass the hell out of the government? Okay, they don't exist anymore. You know, just like patriotism is a dirty word in this country. We talked about that in pre-production.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, before we mentioned, right, 2 years ago when you were either a trucker convoy supporter or you weren't, and if you had the audacity to fly a flag because you were a patriot, no, you're a rebel trucker convoy individual. And now it's okay. You know, we even have some of the one of our news stations that want us to see how patriotic you are by having you a picture of a Canadian flag somewhere. You know what I mean? It's shallowness is all it is.
Most of the flag waving I see is basically trying to emulate the Americans in reverse. That's what I see here. I'm sorry. A lot of this is all about I'm putting this flag up. Now, if you travel enough in the U.S., you see the same kind of sort of false patriotism. You know, got flags everywhere, but in fact, it's almost cultural as opposed to patriotic. And so we try to be the antithesis of that by doing the reverse. It's just so silly. You know, in most other countries, a flag goes out on a national holiday and then it gets put away. You know, it's not advertising, you know, at a used car lot or, you know, some fast food place. You know, it's part of the, it's a very dear thing to the population that you know, is represented by that flag. They don't, it's silly how in many ways we have this real strange cultural thing, which by the way is new in Canada, because this has only been picked up in the last 10 years or so. And it's like I say, one day you're a traitor putting it out, and next day you're a patriot. And then if you ask someone what's a patriot, they can't tell you. You know, well, I'm not an American. Well, okay, that's all. I understand that.
But we have a really good health care plan.
Yeah, well, it's another good segue, Bob. There's an article, not sorry, there was a video on one of the American networks about a guy who was going on about how they have to have a similar healthcare system to the one we have in Canada. And the interviewer said, "What do you mean?" Well, you know, I had a problem with a pain in my stomach, and I kept wanting to go to the doctor, but I couldn't afford it. So I just got in the car and crossed the border and went into Canada. Went into the hospital. They found out I needed an operation. They did it. And a couple of days later, it was out, and it came home and cost me nothing. I'm thinking, whoa, you know, and that's good health care. Now, the cheek of it to me was that, first of all, you know, this guy basically goes to a foreign country, and because Canada is still a foreign country, right? To the best of my knowledge, you know, if you're an American, you go into the hospital. But he thought it was pretty neat that you just go into the emergency, they fix you up, and it costs nothing. Now, I suspect there's a bit of a lie somewhere along there, because I'm sure he got a bill which he went home and tore up. Like, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
But basically, it was clearly not an emergency situation. It was optional, or what do you call it? Not optional when you have surgery that you do. Elective surgery. That's it. Yeah. So he goes into the hospital. They do an X-ray and they go, "Oh, you've got an obstruction in your stomach or whatever. Okay, we can fix that." Boom, 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 and then he gets back in his car and goes back to the States. And this guy talks about this is why you have to have universal health care, because the Canadian one is really, really amazing. And it costs me nothing. I'm thinking, boy, what? That's just, listen, millions of so-called refugees and you know, newcomers know this one by heart. You know, this is not news. But the Americans are going to pick up on this real quick. You know, so, you know, fine. Wait 6 hours in a Canadian hospital and you get a free surgery. And then you get back in your car and adios.
And then after 2, don't you get the Ginsu knives?
Anyway, I thought that story was kind of precious because, you know, it really did two things. It showed just how stupid the system is, because it permits this kind of abuse, but also sent a message to our cousins to the south, you know, that this is a system that you can have too if you vote the way we do. Just saying.
Yeah. Yes, and how do you define stupid? Well,
so anyway, we have a week to wait to see if anybody goes to jail for espionage. We have a week because this is amazing what's going on here. I mean, this is like Igor Guzenko of the 50s, and nobody gives a damn. Like, it just is unbelievable. You know, just there's just isn't that there's no sex scandal with this one like he had at the time with the government, whoever, I forget what minister is the guy's name, but that 40s or 50s, late 40s, early 50s was the Igor Guzenko business. Russian spies. Now we got Chinese spies all over the place, and it seems to be, well, that's normal. You know what? Well, we got a couple here. We got some of our guys over there in Brussels, and we got some
I,
right here in downtown Toronto, and then we got some over there in Vancouver.
you know
Uh,
what? That's just down like poker. I see your two, and I raise you two.
yeah, yeah. And then we, of course, we'll wrap it up with this. We really don't have enough diversity in organized crime in Canada. We need more of the criminality, but we need different cultural versions. So the Bishoy gangs out of India, we need to get them, more exposure because, the other gangs that are floating around, be the Somalis or, the bikers. Wait a minute, those guys, they're almost an extinct bunch of gangsters, but when we can bring that diversity back in. And this is good because you got DEI at the criminal element, which is shows how tolerant we are. And you asked me, how do you spell stupid? Tolerant is how you spell stupid.
Or I was going to say, how do you spell tolerant? STUPID.
So I thought this is great. We have expanded our horizons here, even in organized crime.
Yeah.
And that's really something to be proud of.
Well, as I say, many, 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 many episodes ago, we talked about how people like Kim Jong-un and the banana republics in Africa were all coming to take lessons from our prime minister at the time.
Yeah, Slick is doing a good job.
And we let it go. Anyway, yes, we should let it go here.
Yep. So a
We'll
week
sit
from
with
today, we'll be back.
bated breath.
Yeah, we're going to have some real news, or is it going to be
God.
good news or bad news? It really doesn't matter. It'll be news. But any
Well-
bets on anybody going to jail?
No.
Any bets on it going to cost you more money?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any bets that it's going to be a big deal outside of Canada?
No.
No.
Oh, even our illustrious PM has said that somewhere along the line that nobody gets up in the morning and thinks about Canada.
And I suspect that's one of the things he said truthfully.
Yeah. I noticed that his nose didn't grow on that one, but
No. Pinocchio would be really saddened by that.
His record days without lies went back to zero.
Yeah, I guess any of our liberal friends know we're making fun of him, so we should stop now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. A week from today.
Yes. If we still have money to do this.
Yes. Oh, by the way, our radio station is still not on the air. We're working on it.
Yeah. Well, it's, as they say, the work in progress, so it'll be well worth it once it gets up and running.
Yeah, if it does. We'll keep you posted. In the meantime,
Okay.
Rumble, YouTube, all the other places you usually get your podcasts, we'll be there. So until then, adios.
Adios.